Godzilla, the king of the monsters, a fire-breathing dinosaur that quickly became a national hero. His job was to fight other monsters and crush Tokyo at least once a year. He started in 1954 and so far has made 23 movies. Godzilla vs. Megalon was first released in the United States in April of 1976. The film was directed by Jun Fukuda. Once again, the die-hard Godzilla fans reveled in seeing Godzilla fight against yet another monster. Unfortunately, this was a box office flop. The public had begun to tire of seeing the same overused footage that had been seen in previous features such as Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, Destroy All Monsters, and Godzilla vs. Gigan. This film showed little of the imagination of the previous Godzilla films. The English dubbing of the film seemed even more stilted than usual. To make matters worse, when Godzilla vs. Megalon was released in the United States, it was 79 minutes long. Unfortunately, NBC chopped it down to 50 minutes. Taken out of the film were portions of the plot that were considered insignificant, anything the censors thought too risque, and scenes that were overly violent. The way the screenwriters approached the writing of Godzilla vs. Megalon was that they wrote it in almost clean sections so that an entire scene could be eliminated without having any real impact on the story. It also has been rumored that when a script was being written, the writers used footage from other films such as Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster so that the footage could be laid into the film easily. The distributors of the film, as well as the network, wanted to show that Godzilla moved along with the times and that it was feasible that he could show up virtually anywhere. The movie poster that was shown in conjunction with its theatrical release had Godzilla and Megalon overtaking the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. The distributors had hoped to showcase Godzilla in a familiar urban setting. David Callett wrote a wonderful book entitled A Critical History and Filmography of Toho's Godzilla Series. In his book, David tells us all the trivia that went with Godzilla vs. Megalon. That, in 1977, NBC showed Godzilla vs. Megalon in prime time, hosted by John Belushi, who wore a Godzilla costume. Godzilla all of a sudden had a new audience. They edited the film down to half its length, and of course Belushi did all the campy comedy around the film, so it wasn't very fair as far as the Godzilla fans were concerned. When the movie was released in 1976, the promotional poster was a picture of Godzilla and Megalon straddling the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. This was to make fun of the King Kong movie, but had nothing to do with Godzilla vs. Megalon. The releasing company, Cinema Shares, put things in the advertising as all new, never seen before, Godzilla's first color movie in widescreen, and of course it wasn't true. They also released a comic book in the theaters for promotion. The film was released on video and became a huge success. Godzilla vs. Megalon had some of the same stock footage used in Godzilla vs. Gigan, and parts of the movie are from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, Destroy All Monsters, Ghidra, and War of the Gargantuas. The critics liked the special effects and were the same critics that put down the special effects from movies that had these effects originally. One of the most popular scenes among Godzilla fans is the whirlpool sequence at the beginning. Toho decided to edit some of the Godzilla films of the 60s and put them on the bill with films like Ultraman. These films were called the Champion Festival and were very popular with small children. Suddenly, Godzilla had a new audience. They changed Godzilla's appearance and made his look cute for the younger crowd. He looked like a Saturday morning cartoon character.